In the pantheon of Coronation Street villains, true monsters are not born in explosions or revealed in criminal master plans. They are forged in the quiet, insidious spaces of domestic life. Their evil measured not in grand schemes, but in the systematic dismantling of a human spirit. Theo Silverton, as portrayed with chilling nuance by James Cartwright, stands as one of the most successful and terrifying antagonists in recent soap history precisely because of this intimate horror. His success lies in a devastating formula. He is a shapeshifter whose cruelty evolves, a narcissist whose love is a weapon, and a predator whose most heinous act was born from a twisted sense of possession. He doesn't just antagonize. He infiltrates, isolates, and consumes, making his storyline not just a plot, but a psychologically raw case study in coercive control. Theo's initial success as a villain was rooted in subversion. He did not arrive with a snarl or an ominous score. He arrived as a potential redemption arc for Todd Grinshaw, a seemingly complex man with a past, offering intellectual connection and romance. This mirroring of real-world abusive patterns is the storyline's foundational strength. Abusers rarely present as monsters at the door. They present as rescuers, as kindred wounded souls. By earning the audience's and Todd's initial sympathy, the narrative made us complicit in the grooming process. The red flags, the jealousy toward Billy, George, and Summer, the subtle critiques, were easy to dismiss as passion or insecurity, exactly as they are in life. This gradual escalation is what makes the narrative so uncomfortably compelling. The shift from emotional manipulation to physical violence felt tragically inevitable, a descent we witnessed step by horrifying step. His manipulation is a masterclass in psychological warfare. The ritual humiliation and constant gaslighting are tools designed to create a closed universe where Theo is the sole arbiter of reality and worth. By isolating Todd from his support network, Billy's steadfast friendship, George's paternal guidance, Summer's familial love, Theo didn't just remove allies. He destroyed Todd's mirrors. Without them, Todd could only see himself reflected in Theo's degrading gaze, making escape seem not only dangerous but illogical. Why flee the only person who claims to love you, even if that love feels like suffocation? The cataclysmic event that transformed Theo from a domestic abuser into a quintessential soap villain was the Corriedale crash and Billy's murder. This was the moment Theo's pathology was writ large in fire and blood. His decision to refasten Billy's seatbelt was not a spontaneous act of rage, but a calculated, ice-cold elimination of a rival. It was the ultimate expression of his coercive control, removing, permanently, the primary source of Todd's potential salvation. Executive producer Kate Brooks's insight is key here. Theo justifies it as absolutely necessary to keep hold of Todd. This warped logic is the core of his villainy. He frames murder as an act of devotion, a perverse sacrifice made for the relationship he is determined to preserve at any cost, even the cost of Todd's soul. In the aftermath, Theo's villainy enters its most sophisticated and dangerous phase. With Billy gone and Todd drowning in a grief Theo engineered, the abuser reinvents himself as the perfect boyfriend and an absolute rock. This is not a contradiction, but the next logical step in his manipulation. As Brooks notes, he becomes a lifeline for Todd, Summer, and George. By embedding himself as indispensable within Todd's entire support system, he achieves a deeper, more secure form of isolation. He doesn't push Summer and George away. He insinuates himself between them and Todd, positioning himself as the essential, caring intermediary. This makes any future accusation from Todd seem like the ravings of an ungrateful, grief-deranged man. The targeting of Summer and George, teased as his next move, is a brilliant narrative escalation. They represent the last vestiges of Todd's independent identity and happiness. Summer embodies Todd's capacity for nurturing, non-romantic love. George represents his professional competence and paternal validation. For Theo, these relationships are threats because they give Todd a self-concept that exists outside the abused partner role. Undermining them, whether through subtle sabotage, driving wedges of misunderstanding, or positioning himself as the more reliable emotional support, will be Theo's attempt to sever Todd's final ties to a self he no longer believes he deserves. What truly elevates this storyline and Cartwright's performance is the portrayal of Theo's ravaged guilt. A lesser villain would feel nothing. Theo, however, is haunted. His confession to Billy's coffin was a moment of profound weakness, a crack in the narcissistic armor. This complexity makes him more terrifying, not less. It confirms that he knows the magnitude of his evil, yet chooses to double down on the narrative that he is the victim of circumstance, driven by a warped, unhinged, and tarnished love. This internal conflict doesn't lead to redemption. It fuels greater desperation and control. The guilt makes him more volatile, more determined to secure Todd's dependence to validate his horrific choice. Coronation Street's decision to frame this through innovative storytelling, like the Behind Closed Doors episode, was crucial to its impact. By using surveillance footage and body cams, the show stripped away the typical soap dramatics and presented the abuse with a stark, documentary-like realism. It externalized the hidden, domestic nature of the violence, forcing the audience to witness it through the same detached, evidentiary lens as an outside authority might. This technique broke the fourth wall of soap convention, making the horror feel immediate and inescapable. Ultimately, as Kate Brooks affirms, the story's unmissable power resides in the nuance brought by Gareth Pierce and James Cartwright. Pierce portrays Todd's erosion with heartbreaking subtlety, the flickers of old defiance dying in his eyes, the shoulders that slump in anticipatory defeat. Cartwright, in turn, masterfully balances Theo's chilling duality, the soothing, attentive boyfriend in public, and the cold-eyed manipulator in private, whose smile never quite reaches his eyes. Their performances ensure the story transcends a issue-based plot and becomes a profound character study. Theo Silverton succeeds as a villain because he represents the terrifying banality of evil in a domestic setting. He is not a supervillain. He is a man who weaponizes love, exploits grief, and masks murder as sacrifice. His story is a grim reminder that the most potent cages are not made of iron, but of dependency, fear, and a twisted, inescapable version of care. As he tightens his grip on Todd's world, the question is no longer when Todd will escape, but if there will be enough of Todd's spirit left to save when the opportunity finally comes. The true horror of Theo is not the beatings or even the murder. It is the systematic, loving annihilation of a self.